Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm looking at all of the new Zoom controls with the stuff. So I'm trying to see, it's trying to get me to share the screen. I don't want to do that quite yet. Okay. I'm excited to see you guys. It makes me so happy that you're here. So we'll officially start at 7 and kind of go from there. Can everybody hear me? Just hit a thumbs up, all that jazz. I'm gonna resume this recording and share my screen on Google Chrome. All right. So let me hop into the presentation here. And thanks for bearing with me too, because I'm just trying to learn everything as we go here too. All right. Let me get here and then I will hit present. So there is a presentation that will kind of go along with our stuff, and I'll be hopping in and out of it, sharing my screen and as well as interacting with you too. So let's start with who is super excited to be here. Go ahead and hit the chat. I want to see all those thumbs up, the hearts, all that jazz. Let me see it. We are highly participatory here. We love it. Hearts. Yes. I love it. Has anybody here been part of the unqualified study before, whether it was hearing the sermon or attending in person? I don't think so. We had a few sign up. Oh, Courtney's been here. We've got Michaela's done the Esther study. New here and super excited. I love it. All right. By the way, do you guys see the chat box when I pull it up, or do you just see it on your side? All right, so this is unqualified. This is going to be our spring study. A little bit about me. You guys probably either know me from a conference, from Reels, TikTok, Instagram, all of those things. So I'm Hannah Mae. I am the author of this study, Unqualified. I'm a former Miss Indiana United States, 2017, a wife, a birth mom, which means I have a child that I placed for adoption, and a Chihuahua mama, as you guys saw with Malibu. There's also another one, Gemini, but I'm not going to go grab her right now. I'm a women's ministry leader and a life coach in training. And a fun fact, Crocs are honestly my aesthetic. So if you need to leave now, I understand. But I spent my entire life making fun of people who wore Crocs, and now it's literally all I wear. So anybody else a Crocs fan in here, drop in the chat. Or if you say cancel Crocs, I'm not going to get offended. So either put yes Crocs or cancel the Crocs. Never wore Crocs in my life. I love it. Well, it looks like most of us are Crocs fans, so that's good. All right. So there's going to be several prize opportunities on here on the study. So the first one we'll do at the end was the $10 Starbucks gift card. As long as you commented on the post on Instagram, you were there. There's also going to be opportunities throughout the study. There will be more Starbucks giveaways, an Amazon gift card giveaway, a journal and a candle that I got at Target that I thought was super cute and would love to send to somebody. And also there will be a study Bible that will be a prize. And at the end of this, so this is the first time I'm announcing it, at the end of this study, actually a full 30-day devotional and prayer journal is going to be released for unqualified. So yay, that's super celebratory. It'll be published on Amazon, self-published, and one of you will get a free copy of each. So make sure you participate in all of the things. There'll be little things to post, and every time you interact in that type of way, you have the opportunity to win a prize. Now, if you are overseas, I don't know how certain things work. I'm not sure if international shipping is something that can happen. I'm looking into it. I wish I could do all the things, but I'm learning, and that's what we're here to do, to learn. Okay, so the agenda. This is how every single one of these sessions is going to go for the next 6 weeks. So the agenda, let's get this party started. It's going to start with a hot seat. So and that's an opportunity to just hop on camera, and we will ask some getting to know you questions. So these are for my extroverts, and I need one volunteer who just kind of wants to be hot seated, introduce yourself to the group, and we can ask you some getting to know you questions. So I need one volunteer. Who's going to be my volunteer today? Dakota, I see your hand is raised. Is that okay? Okay. I'm going to ask you to unmute. I'm going to lower your hand, and I'm going to pause the share. So when I pause the share, can we all see Dakota now? Dakota, can you talk?
Hi.
Okay. Does everybody see Dakota? No. Okay. Let me go to Zoom. Oh, stop share. That's how you do it. Ta-da. Okay. So we have viewing the speaker. So Dakota, awesome. Go ahead and start typing some questions in the chat that you might want to know about Dakota. So I'll ask the first one. Dakota, are you more of a cat or a dog person?
I'm a cat person. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know why I just tensed up. I have 2 Chihuahuas, so it's the same. It's literally the same as having cats. Madeline wants to know, where are you from? If you're comfortable disclosing that.
I currently live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, but I moved here from northern Oklahoma.
Okay. Sanae asks, what's your favorite podcast?
I really like the Welcome to Night Vale podcast when I am listening to them.
What's that about?
It's just really fast-paced and fun. It's a fiction podcast set in a really odd supernatural type world in which nothing really makes sense. And it's just a really good way for me to pass the time when I'm cleaning.
Sometimes I feel like that in real life, where just nothing makes sense.
Right?
Okay, well, I'll pick 2 more. Peyton says, what do you like to do in your free time besides the podcast, of course?
I like to read and write, and I ride my bike around my town sometimes, go get coffee.
Perfect. And then let's pick one more. Okay, what different colors have you dyed your hair? There's a few of us with pink hair on here, I guess.
So I have done silver highlights. I have done blue. I've done bright red. I've done pink, and I've done blonde.
We love to see it. Okay, thank you, Dakota. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. All right, going back into the share screen. So that's what a hot seat is, you guys. It's the opportunity to be able to get to know somebody in your group. And if you want to be hot seated, you can just message me on Instagram or an email and say, oh my gosh, pick me next. Because we're all about participation and all the fun things here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and get to the Google Chrome. Hold on. Is it sharing? Now you guys can see my desktop. Oh my goodness. All right, Google Chrome. All right. After the hot seat, we'll get into I will be reading from the CSB version of the Bible. Today we are in Esther 1. So getting right into that. After that, we'll have the opportunity to share. So I hope that you guys have gone through the curriculum or at least read it over a little bit. Guys, my Siri's going on. Oh my gosh.
You're telling me.
Oh wait, you just told.
You just told me.
This is tech. We don't want to get lost in the tech, and that happens sometimes. Okay, so after that, we'll have the opportunity for shares. So I'll take the screen share off. You guys can share what you found in the reading and how it spoke to you. After that, we'll go a little bit deeper in the lesson, and then we'll leave room for a Q&A and pray out. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit day 1 is all about comparison, and bringing out the Bible study. How many of you guys have printed it off, or are you guys just having it on your computer? Go ahead and tell me if you printed it off or if you've just been looking at it on the computer. How have you been working through this? Go ahead and type in chat. Printed it on the computer. Downloaded on the phone, saving paper, all online. Save the trees, guys. I love just having a paper copy of everything. I love Ellie's response. I was gonna print it, but here we are. All right, so day 1 is all about comparison, and we're reading from Esther 1. So our fairy tale begins with one woman, Queen Vashti. We don't get to know much about Vashti, but we do know that she was a woman of status. We know that she was a woman who was qualified as gorgeous, and with Vashti holding the title of queen, I'm sure she could have whatever she wanted. The king has decided to throw a banquet, and this place was poppin'. The banquet was planned to go for 180 days, and the king invited the whole kingdom, and Queen Vashti decided to get the girls together. And we see this in Esther 1, again, reading from the CSB version. These events took place during the days of Ahasuerus, who ruled 127 provinces from India to Kush. In those days, King Ahasuerus reigned from his royal throne in the fortress of Susa. So that's going to be in Persia. He held a feast in the 3rd year for all of his officials and staff, the army of Persia and Media, the nobles, the officials from the provinces. He displayed the glorious wealth of his kingdom and the magnificent splendor of greatness for a total of 180 days. I don't know about you. I don't know if I could party for a total of 180 days, but when we were in quarantine, did anybody have a really relaxing quarantine? That might have been the most relaxing banquety days of my life, to be honest. Anybody else experience that? Or maybe quarantine was horrible and you can say that too. Go ahead and yes. Tiana says yes. It was a mix. I love these. Essential workers, so never quarantine. Maybe there's a time where you were able to, maybe there was a time where you did feel like it was kind of a very big banquet for you, where you were just able to relax. Has anybody had a season like that that maybe wasn't quarantine? Relief. Yes, I love it. And something that this also, no, quarantine was to exclude from most, so felt kind of normal. Okay, so something that I love that's so important to me is girl time. And they're an all-time favorite of mine. I put in here, whether you're 13, hoping your crush will Snapchat you back, or if you're from the 80s and 90s. For me, I was a 93 baby, so elder millennial here. Playing Dream Phone or Mall Madness with the girls, it's really bound to be something exciting. And Vashti had the same heart as her husband in the regards to wanting to hold pretty things, wanting to hold a banquet. And they were just full of wanting to have parties and excitement in their lives. I love seeing you guys interact in the chat. It's amazing. One of my favorite books, I don't know if you have ever read it. It's a coming of age story called Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Has anybody read that book? Has anybody read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? With that book, yep, Judy Blume. It's one of those books that I feel like sometimes your mom like buys you because like it just explains the things that maybe we're not ready to explain, and we can just kind of laugh at that coming of age, or even talking about ourselves, about bras and periods and all of these things that relate to womanhood. But one of those things is friendship, and so often that friendship becomes comparison. So spoiler alert, Margaret is the late bloomer of her friends and just waiting for that badge of womanhood to come upon her. And she calls out to God. She's trying to figure out, is she Jewish or is she a Christian? Which way is she going to take her faith? And she starts her prayers with, Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. And I think that's really when God can invade our girl time or even our personal time. I call these types of sessions God time and girl time. This banquet is decorated in marble and purple. The couches were gold, and wine was also served from gold goblets. And this really isn't something that we get to do on the daily. Vashti was the ideal. She was the queen bee and the host of the banquet. So when we see people who kind of look like the queen of the banquet, often it poses the question, they don't have, they're the ideal. They have it pretty easy, right? And that is where our journal prompt came in, which was, is there an ideal that you are comparing yourself to? What do you see around you that invokes these feelings? So I'm going to stop the share, and for anyone who wants to answer that question, go ahead and just type me in the chat. Or if you worked through the workbook. Do I have somebody on mute? Dakota, did you want to answer, Dakota? I think that was an accidental mute. Okay. Emily wants to go ahead. So Emily, I'm going to find you in this sea of people, and I'm going to unmute you. There you are. All right. Ask to unmute.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of shy, but I felt like sharing. So.
And that's good because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. We love it.
So wait, you kind of asked about like if we're in how did you phrase the question again? Sorry.
So the question, we're talking about comparison with our girlfriends and just kind of how we talk to God about that. And the question today in the journal prompt was, is there an ideal that you're comparing yourself to? And what do you see around you that invokes these feelings?
Okay, right. So that definitely stood out to me because like I'm 27 and I'm kind of like, I definitely struggle. This is one of the biggest things I struggle with because like there's like two main things and I really struggle with it. Like on one hand, I'm like single and I see a lot of my friends getting married and having kids and it's like, I'm happy for them. But then I'm like, I really struggle with like comparing myself to that and like feeling kind of bad about myself. But then I also really struggle with like, am I really as far as I should be in my career? So I'm kind of like on this line of like both wanting to be married and have kids, but then wanting to be higher in my career. So that's actually something I talk to God about a lot because it's like, I should be thankful and like happy with where I am. But then either way, I kind of feel like I'm not where I should be, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think we can all relate to that on a certain level. And then what are you seeing around you that's kind of invoking these feelings? And so this is kind of, I want everybody to know this is not necessarily group therapy because I'm not a licensed psychologist, but this is this is a safe space for you all to express. And as women, we are called to feel. Very often in the world, we get blocked with a need to pursue and push. So again, you can share in the chat, or if you want to come on, we have that opportunity. So Emily, back to you. What are you seeing around you that invokes these feelings?
I would say just seeing a lot of my friends getting married, and like I'm in a lot of their weddings, which like I am really happy for them. Don't get me wrong. Like it's like I really am. And like, and then also like with my job, like I had a pretty high position. Like I work in communications, and then COVID came and they made cuts. So I recently got let go. And so it's just kind of the position I'm in life, between like just kind of watching other people bloom. And it's like hard because I'm happy for people. I really am, but it's hard not to compare. So.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And we have another share that came through the chat. So Sine, I'm going to go ahead and find you again in the sea of people and unmute you. All right.
Is it working?
It is. So Sine is going to share her feelings of unqualified and the ideals that she's comparing herself to. So go ahead, Sine.
So I'm the oldest of 5 children, and I always seen myself like going to college, being a mom, getting married. And I married my high school sweetheart, finished college, and I was like, cool, now I can be a mom. And we just really felt like that was God's promise to us. Like we would have a little boy, then have a little girl. And we just always prayed for that. But we went through a season where we just miscarried every single time that I got pregnant. And it was like really hard for us. And then my sister had 2 kids and my friends were having babies, and we like moved because my husband is in the army. So we like moved really far from our family, and everyone around us kept getting pregnant, and we just didn't understand like why us, like why we kept going through it over and over again. Like I felt like that was promised to me, and I did everything I was told to. I went to school, like I am this example for my family. And then we just couldn't have a baby. So we spent a lot of time just like really seeking out our faith and really learning to just like trust the process and allowing God for just healing us and showing us like as long as we are faithful and plant those seeds, that like that promise will come to us because it's already been told to us by Him that it's going to happen.
That's really good. Thank you so much. And what are some things that you're seeing around you that are kind of reinforcing these feelings of comparison?
Well, just like we do see like a lot of people having babies, and like you see like military families like get pregnant really fast when they just get married. And so like that's really hard. And then it feels like every single one of my cousins is having a baby. And so I just constantly find myself in that like sea of like I'm never gonna be there. So for a while, like we just like stopped social media because like it was just taking a really big toll on me. And then I just like went back to therapy, and I've really worked through it and like really found my faith and learned that like my like trust and my promises are not in this world, but they really are from God.
I love that. And of course, we're going to be covering you with prayer and believing for those babies to enter the world. That's got to be so hard. I never try to say that like, oh yeah, I could totally relate, because everybody's experience is so different, but we are definitely be covering you in prayer. And thank you so much for being super vulnerable. All right, let's go ahead and have one more share. We'll have Mackenzie Jones. So let me find you in the gallery of people, or if you, there you are. All right, so we'll have you share, and this will be our last share for this particular question. Ask to unmute.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, I just got out of high school last year, so all my friends are going into college and they're like following their dreams and doing everything like that. I got out of a Christian school, so I was very sheltered when it comes to that aspect of things. And I just recently got into like a huge university, so I sometimes like compare myself to my friends who are doing other things that I don't do because I'm very family oriented. So I stayed here and everyone left. And then I was like, oh, well, I want to leave like them. And then they're like, no, you don't want to leave. And it's like really hard. And another thing that was hard was this summer I moved in with my fiance and his family. So I moved across the United States. I went all the way to Oklahoma from North Carolina, and that was 18 hours away from my family. And all my friends are like, oh no, you should totally come back. Like we should totally hang out. Like we should do these things. And I moved back here and now they're having babies. So, I mean, that's really like hard for me when Sinette, I think I said that right, when she was talking about that, that's something I've struggled with myself, and I pray about like every single day. It's hard to think about, but me and my fiance have gone through that, and then it's kind of like constant reminders because his mom's always like talking to us and like, oh, when are you gonna have a baby? And I'm like, well, you know, there's complications there. So that's something that I like really compare myself with to my friends who are like, that's like a big moment of our lives right now, getting married and having children. So
For sure. And I think that can even be amplified, especially in the Christian community. I see it's little she's nodding. She's like, yeah, the ring by spring, which I actually put on my husband, and that's another story for another time. But yes. And then Mackenzie, is there any like specific things that like you can point to in regards to like things going on around you that are kind of reinforcing these feelings of being unqualified in comparison?
Actually, for a time, it was my church. I went to a different one. I've gotten into a different one, but you know, sometimes how some churches they sway on what they teach. They give into some things and don't give into others. Well, our church was very good about like a facade or a mask, you know, and being around a lot of people there, it made me feel like hypocritical because the way I grew up is the church is like Jesus is like a doctor. You don't go to a doctor if you're not sick. Like you can still help out and everything. But my family was always like, you can go to the church no matter what. Like you can always have God no matter what. So that was kind of like making me feel really unqualified because I was always like held up on this pedestal, especially being in a Christian school and going to the church that was related. Like they knew me, my life in and out. And they would hold me up like with other students and be like, oh, well, you should be more like her, you should act more like this, or you should do this in the community. And it really, really was hard. Other than that, there was athletics, but athletics is kind of like, it's competitive, obviously, but that was the other thing.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Mackenzie. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. We have so many of us on different walks of life. We have some of us in school, some of us waiting to get married, waiting to have babies. I don't know if anybody's thinking about joining the military, but to speak to seasons, you know, of course, and Ecclesiastes tells us that there is a season for absolutely everything. So your season is not void. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. We're going to go into the slideshow again. Excuse me. All right, so now it comes our time to go deeper. So let's go deeper into what we're reading in Esther 2. We're going to do a little bit of a character study today on Queen Vashti. So going down to Esther 1:10. So on the 7th day, when the king was feeling good from the wine, Ahasuerus commanded Mehuman, the 7 eunuchs, I'm not going to read them all, who served him, to bring Queen Vashti before him with her royal crown. He wanted to show off her beauty to the people and the officials because she was very beautiful. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command that was delivered by his eunuchs. The king became furious and his anger burned within him. After this, the king then starts to consult with the eunuchs. They ultimately come to the conclusion that Vashti should be dethroned and the crown be given to a woman more worthy with her. So let's go into Queen Vashti's story. So role study, Vashti. What is in a name? Biblical names are one of my favorite things to study because most of the time they always hold some very heavy significance. Vashti in Hebrew means goodness and beautiful. And while Vashti was considered both of these things, it was her disobedience that led to her disposition. Now, tough question. We're always going to answer the tough questions on here. And if you guys have questions about Vashti or comments about Vashti, please keep that chat engaged. We're all about participation here. And I just love seeing you guys just kind of eat this up. So Vashti was held to an extremely high standard as royalty, as we are set apart for Christ. So in Peter, in the Bible, Peter actually tells us that we are called apart as a holy people and a holy nation. And when we're conducting ourselves within our communities, within the world, we have Christ on us and we are supposed to be showing Christ. But has anybody ever kind of had a Vashti moment where you're like, you know what? No. I know I've had moments where Holy Spirit has said, can you go do this? And I'm like, probably not today. So we're going to see the king in this as the God figure for this, because Vashti, I really do believe that God is trying to speak to us as we are daughters. We are called to be goodness and beautiful. We all have the Vashti Hebrew meaning of goodness and beautiful and the royal opportunity to be set apart. But when Vashti not only chose to disobey her husband, she chose to walk away from that royalty, from that royal position. So when we walk away from our royal position, we're kind of disposing ourselves. We're giving up that royal position. By refusing to appear before the kingdom as her husband had wanted to honor her, the king, her husband, was left alone and unable to validate his kingdom. And not that God would ever need our validation to validate his kingdom, but he calls us to be set apart. He calls us to wear our crown before the kingdom, the crown that he has given us when he set us apart with Jesus. So just as we are a light to our king, the Bible also tells us, for wives and future wives in here, that a good wife is actually a crown for her husband. And you know how we always learn in church, you know how we always learn in church that we are the bride of Christ. So the wife, the church, should be the crown of our husband, and we are ultimately betrothed to God. The decision to dispose Vashti was not taken lightly, but it was a matter of preservation in these Old Testament times. Vashti was supposed to set that standard for women in her kingdom, to honor the king, to honor her husband. And with the new covenant, we have Jesus who stands in us when we do fall from grace, when we say, you know what, now, should we be giving up our royal identity? Absolutely not. But I'm hoping through this study, it'll give us the confidence to be able to appear before our King. The New Testament, Jesus stands in the gap for us. When we run from our purpose or act in direct disobedience to God, we are leaving behind our crown. So, and then the scriptures for this were in Peter 2, you are a chosen people, you are a royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession. And Proverbs 12:4, an excellent wife is the crown of her husband. So the ultimate lesson with Vashti is when you are called by the King, will you appear? So if you're ready to, and even if you're just teeter-tottering, everything is about staying active and participation to get the most out of this. So just go ahead and click yes, hit yes in the chat. When you are called by the King, when you are called by Jesus, by God, will you appear? We don't want to give up our crowns here. Yes. Woohoo! Everybody. And everybody said yes. Okay. So going even deeper, every issue of comparison, so those things that you're comparing yourself to has a root. Are you acting in the flesh or are you acting in the spirit? We learn about these in Galatians 5. So Galatians 5 tells us about the fruits of the flesh, which are things that we produce when we give up our crown. So these things, and if you have questions on one of these, because these were taken from the KJV, you can type in chat and I can give you the definition of them. So the fruits of the flesh are adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contention, jealousy, wrath, selfish ambition, jealousy, dissension, heresy, envy, murder, drunkenness, and revelry. Sometimes I feel so bad because I'm like, oh my gosh, like why? And I am one, like, why are humans so bad? Like, these are the things that our flesh produces when we're acting out of disobedience from God. And that hurts my heart. So the root of your comparison is coming from a fruit of the flesh. So when we have a fruit of the flesh, we're able to pray and cancel it out by asking and pursuing the fruits of the spirit, which are love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. So what we're going to do now is called the root and the reshaping. Where is this comparison coming from? We're going to look for the root. So go ahead and just think in your mind, what are you comparing yourself to? And I'll give you my example as well. For me, it's the stereotypical housewife. I wish I do. I want to cook, I want to clean, I want to have the babies, I want to have the perfect house and, the perfect skin, the whole 9 yards. And I should be desiring a clean heart is what I should be desiring. So getting to that root, we're going to look for the root in this list. So think of what you're comparing yourself to, and then we're going to go ahead and call it out in the chat. So go ahead and type in chat, what do you feel is the root of that comparison? And that's going to be one of the fruits of the flesh. So just take a minute to pray. I'm going to start a little song and we're just going to start calling out what we're comparing ourselves to and type in that fruit of the flesh. And I'll give you just a few more minutes to just kind of type in the chat. We'll do like about 30 more seconds. All right, we've got some really powerful shares. What this does is it offers us the opportunity to really name it and shame it. So that fruit of the flesh is not something that we want to act from, because it's going to produce sin. It's going to lead to death. When sin, I have somebody that's not muted. If we could go ahead and just make sure we're all muted, that would be fantastic. All right. So when sin is conceived, it gives birth to death. And that would mean, for this, with comparison, it would be giving up our crown. Next, what we're going to do is called a reframe. So now that you have the root, which is the fruit of the flesh, we're going to take another minute, spend that time in prayer and ask God, what is the fruit of the spirit, which are listed on the slide, that I can focus on to start weeding out that root. We're going to do some gardening here today to start weeding that out. And chances are it's not going to happen immediately, but this week we're going to really focus and just stay involved with each other, praying for each other to start weeding that out. So I'm going to pray, and then I'll go ahead and turn on the music. We'll have 1 minute and type in the chat which fruit of the spirit you're going to ask for and work on. So Father God, I thank you that we have the opportunity to identify these roots and start pulling them out of the garden and just polishing our crown and doing the wonderful things that you have called us to do. Father God, right now I ask that in every heart of these women, you are showing them the fruit of the spirit that they can ask for and freely accept to get rid of these roots of comparison. Amen. So I'll give you 1 minute to start writing them. All right. So we have faith, patience, lovingness, faith, kindness, patience, and self-control. That's a good one. Does anybody want to share like their answers for this exercise and how you're committed to pursuing this fruit of the spirit? Do I have just one person who wants to share how this exercise has helped them identify it? All right, I've got, oh my gosh, I already forgot how to do your name. Give me 1 second. I know this is not the right one. Eliane? Eliane? Yes.
Isla N.
Okay, Isla N. I'm gonna write that down. All right, go ahead
problem.
and share. I'm gonna undo the screen share. Go ahead and share.
Okay, so for me, I feel like I really have been comparing a lot of myself to like my girlfriends, seeing their marriages and how perfect it must be because they're both believers, their spouses are believers. And it's really, really hard to not feel like I am not where I'm supposed to be. So this exercise has just kind of, brought things out, like knowing what I really need to be working on. So the fruits of the spirit that were kind of highlighted to me were patience, self-control, and a lot of faithfulness, because I try to do things and I'm not patient about it. I don't have self-control. So I get really, really angry. And obviously that does not help when you're really, really angry and you're trying to do things and trying to change and trying to make your marriage work the way that, God has intended your marriage to work. And faithfulness, because I feel like I just have not been able to connect with God for like at least 2 years now. And so that's something that I really, really need to work on. So this has just been really, really helpful to highlight the things that I need to change. And it's honestly super awesome. So thank you.
Of course. I mean, we're all here for each other too. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. So going back to shared screen, I'm getting good at this, guys. I'm getting better at it. Trying to figure out how to work all of the things. All right. So we've done the root and reshape. And what's going to happen is I'm going to give you some tools either tomorrow or tomorrow, by tomorrow, because we're going to really step out in faith. And again, you don't have to do this because sometimes we're just not comfortable, or maybe you're not in a safe enough space to be able to share these feelings. But I'm going to challenge you to at least in the Facebook group, which if you have not joined, it looks like, I guess I will have to show you when it decides to. There we go. Hold on. All right. So it looks like this. So if you haven't got into the Facebook group, make sure that you hit the link that should have came to you in your email, because we're going to post these. We're going to post what our comparison is. We're going to post the root of it, and we're going to go ahead and post what the fruit of the spirit is that we hope and are asking God to give us more of, because then we can see each other's stuff. We can realize that we're not alone, and we're also going to be able to pray for each other even more, because now it's out there. And there's really something to naming and shaming something where it doesn't have control over you anymore. And now that you recognize it, that is just so powerful. Recognition is so powerful in being able to take the next step of things. So our life verse for the end of the session today is, let us not be desirers of vain glory, provoking one another and envying one another. And that is Galatians 5:26. So Q&A and pray, and then we will do the drawing for the Starbucks gift card. So any questions about today's stuff? I'm seeing that some of you guys can't access Facebook. Maybe we could also do a group me chat. I think that's accessible to everybody. So I'll start one of those two this week. So that way we can do it. So does anybody have any questions that they want answered about today? Emily says I'm old. What's that? Group me is just an app on your phone where you can go ahead and chat with everybody. GroupMe is a free app, so you don't have to pay for it, and you can turn the notifications off if you don't want people to blow up your phone. I think those are going to be the two most easy ways to be able to do this. So Michaela is raising her hands. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Michaela as soon as I find her in this
Hi.
sea of people. Hi.
Okay, you can hear me. I was just gonna say, if GroupMe doesn't work, if you have Gmail, they have like a G chat.
Oh,
I don't know, because I feel like you did email everyone, right?
I did.
Like
I
that
did
is
email
how.
everybody.
Okay,
Okay.
so
I
that
will
might
look into
work.
that option too.
But if that doesn't work, then GroupMe is fine as well. But
Thank you. That's awesome. All right. Last call for any questions about today's material. Did anybody get anything out of this? I hope that you did. Yes. And is anybody super excited for next week? Next week we'll be here, same time. And then it looks like we had 75 people sign up for live. But if you have a friend that would really benefit from this, go ahead and feel free to invite her. We'll be here, same time, same place next week. I'm so glad that you're doing well. I'm probably butchering this name too. So Itzel, would you like me to unmute you, or would you like to type it in the chat? Whichever works. Unmute. All right. Let me find you in the swarm of everybody. There's got to be an easier way to do that. All right.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Well, it's not so much a question. I just wanted to say that I found it very interesting, like how we are in this situation, the queen, but I think our situation is a lot better. And, you know, I kind of think, like I already love Jesus, but now I love him more because, I mean, maybe if Jesus were there with Queen Vashti, like, I mean, in this situation, she could have had like redemption, and now we have redemption because of Christ. Like if we disobey or we mess up, you know, we can go back and ask for forgiveness, you know. So that's all I wanted to say. I messed it up a little, but I hope I made my point.
Yeah, you did great. All right, Ellie, let me go ahead and you'll be the last one. I'll go ahead and unmute you. Well, let me lower your hand and then unmute you. Did it ask to unmute you? I wonder. Ask to unmute. There you are. Okay.
I figured it out myself, so we're good. Can you hear me?
Woo!
Okay, cool. I was just curious, like, what's the main age range in here?
The main age range, I can get that to you. I have it in the Getting to Know You survey. I think the top ones were between that signed up, and only 20 have filled out the survey so far, were between 14 and 17, and then the 18 to 24 range. So
Okay.
yes, I myself am 27, like I said, elder millennial here, and everybody's typing their ages in the chat too. So you can see those too. All right, let me go ahead and now we will go ahead and do I hope the person that wins is on here because that would be kind of sad if they weren't. I would just have to tag them on the on Instagram. So let's go ahead and go to the wheel of names. This is everybody who entered on Instagram, and this is for a $10 Starbucks gift card. So I'm gonna go ahead and click to spin. At Artist Monkey 28, I think that's Alex. I think I saw Alex on here. So congratulations. I will tag you on Instagram, and don't forget, there are so many more opportunities to get prizes, to do exciting things. And I'm just so happy that you guys are here. Thank you again so very much. I'm going to go ahead and pray us out. And how do I stop my share again? Okay. And it really warms my heart that you guys are here. I can't say it enough. It's just who I am. I'm in shock that you guys are here, but also so grateful. So the prayer for tonight is actually listed in the journal, and that is this. So God, I give this whole experience to you. I want to know who you say I am. I long to know the plans you have for me. God, I know I can count on you to show me. In all ways, you have always been good. In a perfect world, I am all of my desires. God, you know the desires of my heart, and you are so faithful. If this is of you, I want to pursue it with you at the center of all my heart. Today, I let go of comparison. My sisters have a beautiful call on their life unique to them, and I have an anointing that you have specifically given me. Thank you, Jesus, for taking on my comparison trap so that I may step into my full anointing. And everybody said, you can unmute. I wish I could like mass unmute people.
Amen.
Amen. I can ask all to unmute. That's fun. All right, everybody. I will see you next week. If you have any questions, if anything came up for you, feel free to direct message me as well. And I will see you all so very soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh, bye, sweetheart.